And so if it's okay with you, I'll just get started. I'm Elizabeth, and I spend a lot of my time talking to attorneys about how to rock their Zoom boxes. And so my goal today is to give you some tips that you might not have found in other places, to do a couple demos for you. And at the end of this, I hope you'll be both smiling and a little bit more relaxed about rocking your Zoom box. So thank you so much. I've got some slides. Some of them you may want to look at closely, and other times you might want to focus on my what's going to be going on in my Zoom box. So if that's the case, I just want to remind you how to look at this in side-by-side speaker view. And that is to go into your view options. You'll see if you're on a computer, there are usually 3 dots right here. And if you click here, I recommend choosing side-by-side speaker view. And once you have that set up, and I'm actually watching your faces as you navigate to that, you'll be able to resize the slides and my boxes vis-a-vis each other. All right, here we go. One of the key things that has certainly been my experience during this Zoom era, is this phenomenon, which was captured perfectly in a New Yorker cartoon that my mother slipped under my door. You're not listening to me. And one of the reasons, and you may find this true, hi Jasmine, it's difficult to focus and to really take in new information on video camera. Right? So there's something about the fact that we're on camera and we're so busy looking at everyone else on camera, right? It's hard often to persuade and connect with people over video camera. So I've gathered some fun tips that I will share with you today that I hope will kind of elevate your own virtual presence. I'm going to start with baby pictures because every good Zoom has a cute baby in it. This is the daughter of one of my students at the University of Hawaii, and he sent me this image, which is like, the best of the bunch. They took hundreds of beautiful pictures that day, but I want to draw your attention to what's going on behind the camera. I am just wild about seeing how things are put together. And so you'll notice lots of continuous lighting. To get this shot, right? Lots and lots of effort. Similarly, this is a church out in my hometown, Maryland, in Prince George's County, Reed Temple AME Church. Take a look at what their virtual services look like, right? But then behind the scenes, it's pretty extraordinary. It looks like the Matrix or something to get that shot. So a lot of the images that we are consuming, right, are highly curated. But I want to give you some tips today that can actually make a difference just in the next 40 or so minutes that we have together. This is Jonathan Capehart, one of my absolute favorite Zoomers, and you'll see that he's here in his just in his what looks like his living room, dining room, right? Look at that. He's raised his laptop to eye level. He's using a ring light. He's also he's blocked out the natural light that would have otherwise interfered with the shot. But this is how he gets that look. And these are the kinds of tools and tricks that I'd like to leave you with today. So I will just say, what I want our focus to be is on connection and not perfection. There will be things even that I advise that I'm not going to actually actively do in our time together. And this is really should be what I would hope you'll carry into all of your video conference situations. You have to connect before you deliver any content. Right? If we don't feel a sense of connectedness to each other, right? I might as well just, sneak out of the back of the room or check my phone or do something else. So connecting is key. And I've put a lot of effort into trying to put together something that I think will be really helpful and action-packed. So thanks for joining me. We're going to move really quickly, as you might already tell just from the cadence in my voice. We're going to talk about sound, cameras, camera angles, eye contact, lights, set design, and wardrobe. And I'm going to give you what I kind of think are my top tips in all of these areas. So let's start with sound. In Hollywood, there's a saying, the sound is more than half the movie. And studies do show that we respond more to audio quality than we do even to video quality. And I thought it would be fun to kind of demonstrate that for you today. So let's do this. I might be zooming like Steph Curry here. I feel really uncomfortable. I have this big, this big accoutrement, right? I feel like I should be marshaling in an aircraft. But I wanted to kind of demonstrate for you why I would make this this kind of sacrifice in what I kind of think of my on-air personality. And I'm going to do that by changing my microphone from my headset, which I'm using right now. It's about a $25 headset, to my
Logitech Brio built-in webcam microphone. Can you hear the difference? And even if you just throw up some reactions, that would be awesome. Or throw a word in the chat so I can tell that you can hear the difference between my built-in microphone. Yeah, it's totally impactful, isn't it? Thank you. Thank you. It is. It makes a huge difference. So this is just, as I said, this is a $25 headset. This is the spare that I keep at home where I'm Zooming from today. I also have a $150 Logitech, a Jabra Evolve headset. I'm not telling you anything. I just want to kind of share with you what's worked for me. I'm also going to go back to my headset because I think it's just
so powerful, but I'm glad and I hope it was a helpful demonstration. I'm going to do another one of these to kind of give you a sense of what the difference might be. And this is great. Oh my gosh, I know, right? Totally hear it. Thanks, Priya and Asha. I appreciate it, right? It totally makes a difference. And feel free to unmute if it's more comfortable for you than writing in the chat so I can keep up. I don't know about you, but when I am Zooming, frequently I'm not in total control of my environment. So you may have done this. One of the first things that I did, nice to see you, Samir. One of the first things I did is I ran out and I bought like the gold Lady Gaga podcasting microphone, like the one that comes out from the ceiling. And I thought I was so clever. And then I realized that microphone is really designed to be used in like a soundproof room, which I do not have. And so I had to pack it up and tried to figure out ways in which I could give hi, Priya. Hi, Tara. Wonderful to see you. So I'm gonna demonstrate for you what my life is like. I'm a parent of a 4.5-year-old. I share an office with super loud talkers. There are roosters within hearing distance. And so this is a stand-in for all of that. I discovered this app, which is called Crisp, K-R-I-S-P. Hi, Erin. And you will see, I hope, or you'll hear the difference when I engage it. So it's a free app. I can download it to my desktop and then install it into Zoom. It takes like 30 seconds. But this is why it's so powerful. And so let me demo my Salvation Army bells, right? Here you go. Oh, it's kind of painful. Now I'm going to turn on my Crisp app. And here it is.
How about that? Did I blow your mind? Did I kind of blow your mind? I did. It did, right? Crazy. Okay, so this is a stand-in. It's amazing and it's free. It works two ways, both as a microphone, right? Both as a microphone and as a speaker. So if I use it for the rest of our time together, our audio quality will be degraded. So I'm actually going to turn off my
Crisp microphone and just go back to my normal, headset that looks kind of silly. But I hope I've already left you with some tips that you can immediately put into action in your Zoom life, right? All right, here we go. I told you we were going to have fun. So here's the deal. One thing we don't often think about is actually warming up our voices, which is critical. I'm here in Hawaii, as I know Stephanie is as well. And a lot of the times I realize I'm Zooming for business with clients, with educators. It's the first time I've actually talked to a real human. Usually it's 5 or 6 in the morning and my voice is not warmed up. And I have learned that actually making that investment and warming up my voice before I speak on Zoom can have a huge impact. So I've saved you a lot of time. I've spent hours and hours looking at terrible public speaking warm-ups, and this one from the University of Maryland Business School is tops. So just start here. She gives a really lovely rundown. Now, if you don't have time for 7 minutes, I want to invite you to do 2 things, 2 exercises that I think are both impactful and effective. Ready? And feel free to unmute and join me, or else I'll feel a little silly. The first is I'm going to make a tiny campfire at my desk, and I'll invite you to do it. So if you have 2 hands, if you want to rub them together and create a lot of warmth right here, that's awesome. I love it. And once you get nice and toasty, I'd like you to place them on your jaw. Right? Feel that warmth, and then do some fake yawns. About 7 of these in an elevator by yourself or in the stall in the restroom right before you go on to public speaking. I tell you, it will make a huge difference. In fact, you can record yourself on Zoom and hear the difference. You don't have to take that from me. The second, I will say, is a trick that I learned from one of the singers who performed at the royal wedding. I met somebody through LinkedIn who performed at the royal wedding. Talk to me about it later. It's so exciting. So when he was talked about warming up his voice, he said this is one thing that he always does. Okay, and that is depending on where you are in the United States, it's either blowing motorbikes or raspberries. So see if you recognize this motion. Right, blowing motorbikes. Turns out, he says if you've got time for nothing else, you want to do your fake yawns followed by your bilabial trill, which is blowing motorbikes to warm up your speaking voice, right? So I'm going to focus today on things that we can all kind of immediately benefit from, and warming up our voices is certainly one of them. All done. Done with sound, just like that, onto cameras. The key is to work with what you've got. So I don't recommend that everyone needs to go out and buy lots of equipment, though I have done that. And let me just tell you what I've learned from that. Use what you already have. Most of us don't realize that the cameras in our smartphones are really powerful, and way more powerful than any webcams that are on the market. So if you want really, really great audio, one thing you can do is just convert your camera into a webcam. The second thing you can do, if you already have one, is to use a DSLR mirrorless camera. Right, these are kind of these beautiful cameras like the one that's pictured here, and then you get a huge lens. Usually it's a Sigma lens. They're enormous. You sit it on your desk and you set it and forget it. This is for when you're like have a beauty vlog. This is for what, if you are looking what kind of teeny boppers are using. Did I just say teeny boppers? What young people are using when they're twitching and streaming, right? DSLR mirrorless cameras with really, really big lenses, right? So if you have those just laying around, feel free to use them. But it's not just the camera, right? It's how you feel when you're on camera. So this is, I thought I'd do this in real time too. These are some of the cameras I've used just over the course of this pandemic. This one, which let me see if I can get it to fire up for us now. This is like my least favorite of all of them. Let's see if I can make it go. Immediately look at the difference. Look at that. Right? This is a 70, the one I'm using before is $170. So look at the $100 difference in quality. Ugh, it's terrible. Okay, look at this one. This one is a little one that I picked up on Black Friday. I'm like a Smurf, right? Like a Smurf. But actually seeing them next to each other, I think makes it really different. And then this is one that I just have been exploring with. And let me tell you, what do you think about this? This is me as a Pixar character. Yeah, you can actually buy that. So it's actually a filter in Snapchat. You can have it, and I'm happy to send it to teach you how to use it. But I'm going to go back right now to my Logitech Brio, which is, I think, really the queen mama of all webcams. And they don't pay me to say that. I've tried a bazillion webcams. It's embarrassing. And I will just say that there's nothing that comes close to this. And my favorite feature is that it has a beauty filter that you can't turn off. That's right. A beauty filter you can't turn off. I'm here for that. All right, so next up, I will just say that webcams were not built for all of us. And so for those of us who have melanin, appearing on a webcam as ourselves requires some work. So I want you to take a look at these two images. The one on the bottom is how my Logitech Brio wants to see me, right? You'll notice how much paler I am. I have to use a photography card to kind of reset my camera to get to my natural apricot glow. Isn't that lovely, apricot glow, right? I have to teach my webcam what neutral gray or white looks like in order for it to kind of actually catch me, or by the end of this, I will be much whiter than I started. This is something that is true not just of Logitech Brio, which I'm using now, but all webcams, which were developed for white people. If you're interested in the, they were. So,
big for us brown people on this call at the very
Yes. Okay. If this interests you, or if this information is new to you, I recommend Color Film was built for white people. This is a short film on YouTube. And it turns out that Kodak only started to look at capturing brown skin tones effectively when white makers of cabinetry complained about what their print advertisements looked like for the wood grain in the products they were selling. And if you want to see amazing cinematography of black skin, Insecure by far. They are, right. They're totally breaking ground. All right, so here we go. Oh, I love these. I love doing this. Finally, I will just say, yeah, clean your webcam. Though sometimes I actually want the filter of the smudge, the second one, but webcams are designed to be very, very sensitive. And so if you're not making it kind of a routine to just to clean your webcam, I use these, which came with, I use this the microfiber cloths. And there are also some disposable eye cleaning things that you can get at CVS, and I also recommend those. All right, and I just want to check in. We're moving quickly, but how are we doing, everybody? For those of you who I can see, I love it. I love it. Okay, and we're gonna keep it this fast clip. We're gonna keep going. Let's apply the rule of thirds. We'll all end up being cinematographers when this is done. I became very interested in why I found some images more visually appealing than others. And so I learned about, I went to where you go to learn things about cinematography, YouTube, and I found this amazing short film which illustrated The Rule of Thirds by D. Darius. I recommend him highly to follow. If you take a 3x3 grid and you lay it on top of kind of really extraordinary, evocative shots, you'll notice that typically the eyes of the main character is on the third median, and the action is lined up, right, on the perimeters of the interior box. Do you see that? And I'm actually just watching you respond to these amazing images. This works. This is freaky. Once I've shown you this, you can do this for everything. I was watching the British Bake Off Christmas holiday special last night, and I was like, it's the rule of thirds, right? The baker is always lined up on one of the medians. The eyes are always at the third median. This is everywhere. Okay, but now that I hope I've kind of freaked you out by introducing it to you, now you'll never be able to unsee it, see the rule of thirds. This is how we see it on television. We might not realize it, but everyone we're interacting with on Zoom is an expert at looking at people in boxes and has already expectations for where we should be showing up in our boxes. So for headline news, for broadcasters, you'll notice all of their eyes are at the third median, right? Look at that. Joy Ann Reid, boom, centered in the frame. So I wanted to break this down. So I spent a lot of time, I don't know about you, during the pandemic, watching the news and thinking about how we could translate what the broadcasters are doing into something that lawyers can put into effect every day. And so I came up with these little rules. Are you ready? First, take center stage. Right? So wherever you are, and Erin, I'm looking at you, you want to, there you go. Perfect, right? When you line up in the center, something just becomes kind of right in the world. It's true. Sometimes I want to Zoom and everybody's kapakahi, which is a Hawaiian for kind of crooked. But when you get everybody lined up, it's a thing of beauty. Keep your webcam at arm's length. And we can actually do this right now, as you'll show me your WNBA fingers and extend them out, right, at arm's length. Right? You should about be touching your webcam. Okay, so if you're not, and you can make some adjustments, webcams are designed to work best at arm's length. And yes, we don't all have the same length arms, but this is a really good kind of rule of thumb. When we close talk on a webcam, it's the same as when we do it in person, and it actually creates anxiety in the viewer. So I'm not going to scare you too much, but I'm just going to lean in and see already, right? It's just not as appealing as when we're sitting about this far away from each other. This also goes a long way towards kind of recreating what it would be like if we were sitting across a restaurant table from each other or a conference table, right? We'd see just much more of each other's bodies. I feel like Neil Katyal is like leaning in for the kiss. it's too much. I'm not ready. So that is so here we go. Raise your camera to eye level. When you were showing me your WNBA fingers, I was also able to see kind of where your webcam was in relation to you. Right? So if I recommend having your webcam's eyes at eye level. So that means raise or lower your webcam, right? Till you're right here. And I'm going to show you how I'm doing it, and I'll give you a couple tips later, but this is my webcam and it has googly eyes. I'll talk to you. And here are all of you, right? And I have it in the middle of my monitor hanging on a FlexiCam, which is a webcam holder, which I will absolutely recommend to you. Give yourselves 4 fingers of headspace. So if you have 4 fingers, we can do this together, right? If you show me your 4 fingers, there you go. You beat me to it. This is it. This is it. Look at that, right? When we are cut off or we are creepers low in the frame, it's disconcerting. We're not showing up in the way that people expect us to. And it actually degrades how authoritative people think that we are, right? So showing up with great audio quality and video quality, it has I would say an outsized impact on how people think about us, right? So give yourselves those 4 fingers of headspace. And then this is my absolute fave and my final tip, show your armpits. Yes, I am not that. This is, yes, do it. We can show our armpits. Okay. When you do this, when you show this part of your upper body on Zoom, okay, we have so much more access to each other's as our gestures, right? How we connect with each other. Are our shoulders hunched? Are we slouched? What energy are we bringing to the Zoom call, right? Armpits are critical. Now, some of us sweat. I'm not going to point fingers here. Okay. So no sleeves, no short sleeves. I'm okay with short sleeves t-shirts. I'm totally fine with them. I'm rocking short sleeves right now. You can see my here I have right here, Anish. But this is a maxi pad. For those of you who have not yet seen a lawyer talk about maxi pads on a Zoom, this is the moment. That's right. You stick this puppy right in here, no one will ever see you sweat. This is like the trick to white shirts everywhere. Okay. So I will just say to you, right? This, if you never let them see you sweat, it works the same on Zoom. And so if you're somebody who sweats, don't not show your armpits just because of that. Moving on to eye contact. How are we doing, everybody?
I have a question.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
you put your camera in the middle of your screen, doesn't that distract you from what you're doing on your screen or what you're looking at?
Absolutely. I only hang it up in this position when I'm Zooming. And then when I'm done, it's like on a little hook and I just put it on the side.
Right. Okay. But
Yeah.
so you're okay, like when you're on Zoom, it doesn't distract you from talking and what you're doing?
No, not for me. The holder itself is transparent. It's made out of plexiglass, and so it's just the camera itself that is solid, and the wire.
Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's much more fun for me when it's a conversation. So please, I mute, ask me questions. This is what makes me happy. Eye contact, which is key. And it's so hard for me right now because when I want to see your faces, right, I actually have to kind of look in what I think let me give you this example. If you're driving, think of the webcam as like the road and checking your mirrors as looking at people in their boxes to see if people are connected with you. Are you distracted? Are you right to make that connection? But in order to create this feeling of us being in the same place, we have to, I can only make eye contact with you through the webcam, which is weird. Right? It's a weird idea. It's actually called a non-mutual gaze. And it's one of the things that contributes to Zoom fatigue. Here's a way to avoid it or to improve your kind of eye contact game. Hiding your self view in Zoom. And not all of us realize that we can do this. And so I actually want to walk you through it because I think it's that important. If you are in Zoom right now and you go to your own box and you go to the 3 little dots in the corner, there's an option there to hide your self view. This does not turn off your camera, but it does, right, mean that you don't have to see yourself. And I find, right, like many of you, that the thing I'm most interested in when I'm on Zoom is myself, right? Where do I look like that? Do I look like that? Right? Samir's laughing, but this is real stuff. It like has led people to plastic surgery and all kinds of things. Once you remove yourself from the gallery, all of a sudden it's so much easier to pay attention to someone else. And so what I found is I've done, it takes some work to kind of work up to not looking at yourself after, a whole pandemic of self-critique, but it can really be helpful. Once you've done it, it's hard to bring yourself back. And so here's the next slide. To restore your self view, right? Click on any box that you see that is available to you. Click the 3 dots on that box and you can bring yourself back. I totally recommend when you can and when you've gotten to a place where you can feel comfortable to Zoom blind. Okay, look into the camera because when we don't do it, it's like when a teacher turns around in a classroom. Yeah, Samir.
When you say that, do you find it effective to shut it off when you're speaking or when you are engaging or both, or when are times that are good for this?
I definitely do it when I am listening and when I'm receiving information, especially new information. And when I'm being interviewed or I'm interviewing someone else, I will almost always do it because otherwise we're sitting like this, right? It's like the whole world is like this. We're just looking at each other, or looking at ourselves rather than at each other. It's a great question. When I'm presenting, I try to set it and forget it, like make sure my lipstick isn't blurred. I don't have poppy seeds in my teeth. And then I try not to look because it just is so attractive. And in fact, they've done studies that when people are given an option of looking at themselves in a glass mirror or a Zoom mirror, Tara's nodding, you're going to look at yourself in the Zoom mirror because the distortion is so interesting to us. Right? Like that's not exactly what I look like. And it isn't because our features, our skin color, right, are being affected. Oh, I love these questions.
I actually had a question about that because I recently gave a PowerPoint presentation and I found it really hard because I wanted to look at the camera, but I also had to look at my PowerPoint to kind of figure out where I am. And then there's the presenter view, which is completely different from my shared screen. So it was like, I felt like it was chaos, although people told me it went off fine.
Oh my gosh, and let me just say, how gorgeous is that voice of yours? That sound is amazing. This is what we should all want to have in Zoom sound audio control. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot to look at, which is why my head was going like this when I'm Zooming. Like, am I looking at the faces? Am I looking at my PowerPoint? Am I slide dependent? Do I, how independent am I of what I'm presenting? It's tricky, but these are some pointers I might leave for those of us who are kind of in the presenter seat. One is the PlexiCam. It's about $75. I sometimes I'm reading a message in the chat. I sometimes put the PowerPoint on the screen that my camera is on. Yeah, it's totally, if it works for you, Anish, that's what you should do. It's all about figuring out, kind of experimenting and giving ourselves enough time to figure out what works for us. So I love that you shared that. Thank you. I also use a clicker, which was, I took somebody on LinkedIn to make the suggestion and I was like, why am I not, I have a clicker. Why was I not using the clicker when I have this in my hand, I can gesture, I can be more myself, right? And I don't feel like kind of like tethered to that mouse. So another thing to think about, these are very inexpensive. This is again, like 25 bucks. Love it. Oh, I love these questions. Okay, folks, I want to talk to you about the glasses. Okay, and I want to see if I can recreate this. This is Oprah, right? This is Oprah getting an award. I mean, who gives Oprah awards anymore? She has more awards than, she could open up an award supermarket, the woman has. I mean, she must have a house just for the awards, right? Don't care about her at all getting these awards. One reason it's hard for me to connect with her in the first picture is because our connection is being blocked by the glare, right? But when she's looking into the camera, right? When I can see her, I'm like, you get that award, congratulations, you go girl, right? The way that we respond to people on camera has mediated by zillions of things. The one that I see with attorneys, often because a lot of us wear eyeglasses, right? We have to be really thoughtful about whether we want to introduce another barrier between us, right? And an already disconnected or distracted audience.
And that's all based on just the tilt of her head.
That is. So if you were avoiding, yes, I freaking love it. I love this. Yes, it is. So you can either do this, which is find what I call the granny spot. And then you have to just keep like this the whole time and never move your head again, right? Because you found the perfect non-glare place. Okay, that's not an option. But I would recommend doing in that case is actually tilting your monitor, right? And make the monitor adjust to where you want to be. You can do this by just, depending on what your monitor setup is like, just introducing a couple pencils to change the angle. Right, so I like literally slide pencils until I get it to what the granny angle is. Other things you can do are use the nighttime setting, right? So reduce your screen brightness, so you have less to compete with. Right, these are all different just tips and tricks I've learned along the way, and I'm happy to share with you. Love it. Okay, we're all done. We're going to talk about lights. Lights are kind of like the be all and end all of everything. So Samir, it's really hard for me to tell. I can't read your facial expressions, right? So I can't tell if you're like, I can tell when you make gestures, like when you're nodding or you're laughing or you put your hands up, then I'm like, I can see what's happening. But otherwise, because you're backlit, I can't connect with you. So the key is always connecting, right? Not so much having it all look perfect or be, glam. It's about, right, being able to use the medium. So see, this is what I think is a seemingly easy interview shot at a table, right? For PBS, Finding Your Roots. But look at, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of expertise to just create that lighting of two people at a desk. Okay, that's pretty much what I have going on here. No, I'm kidding. I don't have that going on here, but there is this pressure, I think, when people come to lighting to like, I need to buy it all. I need to buy it all. And so let me just say, it's not so much about what you need to buy, it's how you harness and use the light to your advantage. So take a look here. Most of us who are sitting in offices and law offices with fluorescent lights are going to be the first person, the first view of the bust, right? These are forgiving of no one. They make us all look like Skeletor, right? Big bags under our eyes because of the light is coming from the top, right? Also kind of creates a shadow on our chest. It's just not flattering. The second is turn off the overhead lights in your office and you're just working with ambient light. That's better. That's way better. A lot of people can just make huge gains by turning off their overhead lights, right? And then you're going to get tricky with it, turning on some lamps. You're going to see, wow, right? This last one, it's ambient plus accent lighting. Right? It's so impactful to see it this way. So turn off your overhead lights. They're also for those of us who don't have hair. It can be the exact Samir. Nice work. Nice work. I love it. So here is Professor Paul Butler. Look at the difference, right? Just turning off that light, right? None of us need that light. It's just not flattering. Illuminate your face, right? Oh, I love it. The blinds are down and all of a sudden, wow, Samir, it's like you could have been the slide. We should have just taken screenshots of Samir as he was doing it, right? Like, look at the difference. It's amazing. But it changes the way, now I can enjoy Samir's smile. Like, that's why we do this, right? We make these adjustments so that we can actually feel connected to each other. Eliminate shadows. Shadows are not your friend. So here is attorney Joey Jackson. Look at the difference between when his face is in relief, right, versus when he's got what I call pancake face, which is when we're evenly lit. I'm actually not evenly lit because I've got a really big window here. So even though I have my artificial lights on, this side is a little lighter. Tonight, when you're watching the news, you'll notice no shadows anywhere, right? The original ring light is the vanity desk, the vanity table behind at like Broadway, where you see the lights all the way around, right? Lights everywhere to avoid shadows. Shadows are what we respond to when we think something is unattractive or ominous or questionable, right? So we all get lamps. Luckily, you already have lamps, right? So this doesn't mean buying lots of equipment. We just have to know how to position those lamps so that they eliminate the shadows on our faces. Right, that's it. Right. And I will say this for if you need to think about a little bit about color temperature, and I honestly have like an hour just I can talk to you about how to do this, but you want to make sure that whatever your artificial lighting is, it's the same temperature as the outside light, because webcams, photo sensors will get completely thrown off. If, for example, you are zooming during the day where the light coming in from the outside is kind of cold or cool, and then you use like an orange light bulb to kind of like, and then you just ixnay with the xnay. So daylight bulbs in daylight, soft white for evening. All right, here we go. We're going to talk about setting up our Zoom rooms. Right. I see you going into blur, Aaron. I saw that. And I'm afraid I'm going to, is it Charanjit? Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
Charanjit. So I had noticed you've been blurred too. There's like let me just tell you, there's a ferocious war out there about this, about to blur or not to blur. So I think you're using it pretty well in this setting. But people, I think, are not as attentive enough as they should be to what people can see in the frame. So consider your background. No, I love Sharon Eiffel. This is no shade on Sharon Eiffel. Like I try to find examples of people themselves doing things differently, so as not to like harsh on someone. But oh my goodness, I think what happened in the first is that she didn't realize how wide the webcam was going to be and how much of her background was going to be visible to the viewer. So you can see the cat, but then you also see the furry blanket, right? Or Chewbacca costume. And then there's like the Purell and or lotion. See, I'm going to go right down to it. I'm reading spines on books. I'm looking for, right? It's human. So what we want to do is redirect people's attention to what we're saying, right? Like, and we don't want to compete with our background. This is kind of the set it and forget it. The second version, where it's like, okay, bookshelf, plastic plant, we're good. Right. I think that's actually a very good place to start. I would just, in this case, I would have used the blur. Because I think that if I can read the spines of your books, I'm reading the spines of your books. And when I'm reading the spines of your books, I'm not listening to what you're saying. I'm going to miss whatever your message is. So again, it's about connecting with people. You want people to focus, right? So I have this, I kind of not giving you much a choice about what else you can see in my frame. All right, here we go. Oh, I'm having so much fun. So consider using a virtual background. But if you do so, right, you've got it. One, have your really good friend who's like a graphic designer make one for you. Use a green screen. I'm actually kind of teasing. I've used all of these virtual backgrounds, right? Some pull focus from, right, the dean of the law school. Otherwise, and I've used them all. So like no shame in your game. It's just the case that if you're going to do this, you have to be really thoughtful about what you want to introduce into your shot.
So Elizabeth, I have a question
Yes,
about that.
absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So I have curly hair. It's not so visible, but when you're doing a blur or you're doing that virtual background, you actually lose it all. So I look like
Yes.
someone else.
Yes.
So this is like a huge negative in my view.
Yes, totally is. It totally is. Now, let me just tell you that I call that the melt. Okay. And there's no one on with a visible green screen right now. But you know, we all know what you're talking about, right? Where the person kind of comes in and out of focus. And I have a friend who has blonde curls and she looks like she's got like a lollipop head. This is how you get around that. Next slide. Oh, I had a slide. It was the next slide. You have to use a green screen, right?
Okay.
If you're using a physical green screen, will allow the camera, the software that runs the virtual background, to figure out the algorithm between what is you and what is not you. Right?
Okay. So you can't do it with like your natural background that's like crazy.
No. No, you can't. But this is actually my corner of my living room. Right. This is a different green screen that I'm using today, but you'll see it's just attached to my chair. It's a web around, and I find that to be really effective at also kind of shielding the rest of my life from my client or my classroom. The second, this is my kiddo, and she is jumping on top of what I call the budget green screen, which is just the 4 poster boards of the fluorescent green that you can get at Long's or CVS. Just put it together with matte tape so you don't get the shiny cross in the middle, and you're good to go. Homemade green screen, like less than $10, right? And yes, of course, I went and tested it because that's me. Right? So I won't recommend anything I haven't actually figured out myself. The other thing you can do is stage your Zoom room. So you can actually change your room, right? So that what you're showing on screen, right, elevates or amplifies your message, whatever that is. So in the first hostage video, right, I don't know if she's safe. I'm concerned. I want to see like proof of life. Okay. In the second, it's set it and forget it. I don't love the background, but I know she's like, I know that was some thought going into that. So here we are. If you're going to do it, capture depth. Depth is attractive. It's visually appealing. We like things that seem to recede, right? It looks more like real life. So capture depth. You can do it by being in a place where there is a lot of depth, choosing a virtual background that's a depth. This is the corner of my guest room, which I created on an angle to create depth. Right? Okay. And that's a giant paper ball lantern. Have you ever seen a giant one that huge? Because yeah, we can talk about lighting for cinematic lighting in your home. Don't tell you. So the other thing you can do is angle your shot to create depth. This even works with virtual backgrounds. Like people always put the virtual backgrounds, or many people will put it up with the books being like you're right up against the bookcase, because we all talk when we're in front of the bookcase. Whereas it's much more natural to see a bookcase behind you at a cocktail party or something, right? Not where you're standing right behind it. So here we have Attorney Henderson making huge strides just by changing the view, changing the angle of the his shot. And then here it is. If you're looking for that kind of broadcastery feel, don't have your ceiling be visible, because we don't see Don Lemon's ceiling, Joy Ann Reid's ceiling, Anderson Cooper's ceiling. They don't have ceilings, they have lights, right? So if you want to get that kind of that professional look, you want to do it without a ceiling. Oh my gosh, how much fun is this? We're on to wardrobe, which is like my favorite part. Dressing for the camera. It is like literally my favorite part. In the same way that webcams distort our skin tone, the features in our faces, right? Also changes how we experience color, which is why I have this amazing power blouse that I wear when I really want to show up and show out in person, right? And I look ridiculous on camera. And I had to realize, like, wait, what's going on? I look fabulous. This color suits me. I know that because this is the one thing that I always wear that people say, oh, it looks beautiful. You know, it's because the webcam, right, is interfering with the communication of that color and the light and how it bounces off. right? So because of that, if you're going to be doing a recording, a commercial for your firm, right, you're going to be, recording something for your class, you're going to use over and over, you might want to be more thoughtful about, right, dressing for the camera rather than dressing for yourself. This is the same, I will just say, for those of us who wear makeup, right? Making up my face, I do it in the Zoom camera, and then I scare myself when I go into the bathroom because I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's because, right, I'm emphasizing features of my face differently, right, depending on what medium I'm in. So here we go. If you wear blazers, right, either stand up or sit on your coattails. Do you see that? Do you see what's happening? This is Keith Ellison, and he's got the shoulder hunch, right? It's really distracting. You'll never see it on broadcast news because all of them are sitting on their coattails, right? As a way to make sure that that's not happening here.
I think they also all do their button always on television. Anchors never have their suit buttons open.
Yes, and depending on how good the suit fit is, they might also be using binder clips or clips to hold the back to get that nice like sculpted look. Erin, I love that you knew that. I love that.
Well, because I have a gut and that's very uncomfortable. So I was like, what the hell those guys are doing? This is the worst thing in the world. So as you see, I'm not wearing a suit.
Love it. So it's not just what you wear, but how you wear it on camera. So here we go. Splayed is not a good look on camera. Okay, and it reads. So this is like, and forgive me, President Clinton, but I mean, this is just terrible, right? The first one is just, he looks way too comfortable with himself, okay? When we're on camera, one of the things that we can do is called, and I learned this from a broadcaster, the BBC, put your butt and put your bottom, in the back of your chair. So if we all do that, if we scooch, right, you take those sits bones and scooch them back to the back of the tail, it makes us lean forward ever so slightly and looking attentive and interested, right? More so than if we were slouching. So body language on Zoom, it's more about, I never truly understood until Zoom time when people would say it's not what you wear, it's how you wear it. It's actually how you wear it. So posture is key. Stephanie Thompson knows I have experimented with I even got this little posture fixtures that you can get like as seen on TV, like the little vests that go under your clothes to keep your shoulders back. Right now I'm doing it with a little pillow behind me, one of my daughter's pillows to keep me leaning forward ever so slightly. Right. You also want to point your toes in the direction of the webcam. So if you see people on broadcasters and they go from camera to camera, their whole body is moving, right? They're swiveling. Put your toes in the direction of your camera. Wear jewel tones. Oh, hi, Jaspreet, nice to meet you. I will just say right here, I love how Representative James Clyburn dresses for the camera. Jewel tones are absolutely the gold standard for what colors will flatter you on camera. Jewel tones that are very saturated. You want to ignore. Don't choose pastels, black, white, and anything that's close to your skin color because you'll just look like you're naked. Okay. Yes.
Asta, you're not doing a good job, girl.
Oh, no.
I know, I was like, yep, wearing, but at least you can see him clothes.
Yes.
So
I love it. No, and actually, I mean, these rules are, who knows these things, right? I mean, like, where do you get a class for an hour of someone who talks to you about these things, right? This is not something that like just is out there in the world, right? And so I'm so glad that that you're all just kind of leaning into the experience with me because it's so much more fun when I can see your faces and listen to your questions. It makes me very happy.
Oh, if you have South Asian parents, they'll tell you if they approve of what you're wearing or not. You don't have to ask for opinions.
I love this. I want to introduce you to this concept called the moire effect. Right. This is when I press play, there'll be an interaction between the camera and the lens of the webcam and the silk pattern on President Obama's tie. Let's see do you see that?
Yeah.
It's called the moire effect. It happens if you're wearing anything that's shiny, if there's a sheen, right? It will compete, it'll dance for the camera and it can be distracting. Again, is this going to be the end all and be all? No. But if you have a choice between choosing a small pattern that dances or a bolder pattern, I would go with the bolder pattern, right?
So my
I-
my giant like floral things are fine.
Absolutely. And it's actually, I think it's interesting because when I have to sit back and watch Dress Like a Meteorologist, it's all about bold prints, saturated colors. Right? And I have been known to maybe sometimes wear a striped dress, very much like the one on the right, as a way of actually just distracting whoever it is that I am with, because I can go like this and all of a sudden it's like dancing everywhere, right? And I just am giggling to myself. I have teased the person that I'm with by being one giant like a dancing image. If you wear business shirts, I will just say that choose blue over white every single time, right? There are a couple humans who look great in white business shirts. There are a couple, right? But most of us are in the blue. And I mean, some of the colors I'm seeing right now, this is it, deep saturated blues, right? Black appears funereal on camera. So you might feel svelte, right, in real life when you wear black, or that's what the message is supposed to be. But in fact, it looks kind of like you're wearing nothing, right? It's not like you're naked, but it's like it just disappears. So for example, an Attorney Lloyd, we can't see a lapel or a buttonhole or a design, or right, you can see nothing. It's just nothing. You'll see her in gray and all of a sudden she's wearing a suit. Right. And I would just say that black also appears very funereal and dour on camera, very, very dark. And I just would avoid it if you can. Here we go. So stand out from your background. Once you figured out what you're going to be zooming in front of, then figure out how you're not going to blend in, because you don't want to be kind of a floating head like Professor is in the first image, right? Just looking at using color, all of a sudden you get this depth in the shot. It's so vibrant, right? You can see the colors of his lips. It's just a really lovely, lovely change, right? Screen test your look. Yes, this happened. I went to Savers, which is a thrift store here, and I bought every single color I could find because I wanted to understand how color worked on camera. And I found, of all the ones that I chose, I liked this one the best, the salmon V-neck. In real life, like in the actual room, if we were in it together, it is the color of an orange highlighter pen.
Oh,
You know that color, right? You know exactly which one I'm talking about. The packet that has the pink, the green, and the yellow, and the orange. That is the color. And I actually was there. It was 99 cents. And I was like, that's 99 cents too much. There's no way I'm ever going to wear this. And that is my go-to, that coral. So if you're going to be recording from the camera or really want to show up in a certain way that you feel like really good about, screen test your look. Right. And if maybe it's asking your parents to be very honest with you about how you're showing up on camera, right? That might be one way to do it. Jewel tones flatter all skin tones. So just, yeah, I love this raspberry. I've yet to see it. Someone not look good in raspberry. That's it. I'm going to stop here, which will give us a couple minutes for questions. If you have a smartphone and you put it over that QR code, it will take you to an invitation to connect with me in LinkedIn. And I'm going to stop my share and just say I had such a blast with all of you. I just put my contact information in the chat, but I hope if you have questions and if you have a few seconds to hang around, that we could talk through some of these things. When screen testing, this is a question from Samir. How do you decide what background colors work? I picked a blue. Yes. So little hint, if you're looking for a virtual background, blue is kind of the standard. And if you look out, even in LinkedIn, you can see when people are kind of putting up screenshots of each other, the backgrounds are almost always blue. And that's because blue works really well with the camera. And it's a nice kind of like, it's a nice place to start. And then the question is, then if you have a blue background, then not wearing blue, because you want to be able to create kind of a sense of distance, right? Oh, Anisha, I'm so glad you thought it was helpful. I love it. I love it.
yeah. I think when I was like growing up, there was like all the pictures that you would take were either on a gray background or a blue background. And
Yes.
ultimately, because we have like tinted skin tones, blue looks better. And so I'm wondering if that's part of it.
I love that you just said that, because I'd never thought of it. But as soon as you said it, I could just, all of my friends' grade school pictures flew up in my mind, right? All of them again, against that blue or gray.
Yeah.
I believe it or not, like a group asked me to come to do a whole thing just on choosing virtual backgrounds. And there's a science to it. And one is color, two is gradient or texture, right? And then I would say ones that are different from you, and also thematically make sense. So for example, if I were here in this tropical aloha shirt against like the Alps, right? There's some kind of like cognitive dissonance, like, right? There's like something, it doesn't make sense. So sometimes I'll see someone with a super, super formal background, and then they're wearing, right? Like they'll wear something else, and I'm just like, wait, what's happening? Like, is this like? And so it just kind of thinking about it as a visual thinker, like you're creating a little film, right? A little tiny film for your clients, right? Whether it's, I love the blurs, I love it, I love it. I know, and then I bet have you pulled your hair back on purpose because you didn't want it to have that.
Now it's weird. It gives me like flashbacks because my first firm picture, they just took a picture against a white wall, and somehow like my hair disappeared and it was just like this. And so it looks
Yes.
like this is what my hair is, because I always pull my hair back. I'm really lazy. But the blurring brings me back to 2004 or something.
I love it. So I'm going to just show you. Let me see if I'm going to turn my background off. I'm going to turn
No,
this
the
off.
reason is Charn made fun of me because I have like some weird fun in the background.
I am actually, so I'll show you some interesting things about backgrounds. Like this is one of my favorites, this one, which is it's just a gradient, right? It's not dead white, but it's actually called the plain Jane. And now I'm going to actually turn off my background, but I do wild things because I can. Like, why not? Like I'll go to meetings and have really bold Marimekko if I want. And partly because that's what my style is. Or this one, I almost did this to you guys today. This almost happened.
That was a lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot. So here's what I'm going to do. I just turned off my green screen, and so I'm taking off. I really wasn't kidding. It's attached to my chair. I'm going to throw it down here, and you can see, right, real life. And when I teach, or when I'm working with clients, what I'll often do is start with a real background. Right, I'll start with my fake background, and then I go to my real background. In the same way I changed it with my speakers, right? It makes a huge difference now, the way we feel about each other, the intimacy we've developed over an hour, right? But this is also laden with things that can be distracting. Even though it's like not my real life, which is the chaos on the other side of the column, right? It's still a lot of information. And, depending on who you are, I'm here in Hawaii. So it's like, what valley are you in, right? What floor of your condo? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, it's already there's so many questions here. Even though this is pretty basic, scrubbed down, no family pictures, there's already questions about, oh my gosh, I would totally do this again. Like literally, I love this. I have a day job. I do this I do this because it's so much fun.
Yeah, no, this was so great and so helpful.
We need to help more people. Admittedly that I joke around with poor Samir a lot because I'm on video cameras with him 12 times a day. And I'm like, you're moving around, you're always in some other spot. And I always make fun of him. So part of it is I think there's a lot of people that could use this help.
Yes. I can't believe how much I've learned. This is fantastic. Thank you.
We should come back next time with a fixed video image.
Correcting
all our errors. That's right. Before and after.
We should have an after session, and then we're gonna all have the green screen in the background with perfect sound quality. I think that would be helpful.
Should we I think I'll stop recording at this point if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. This was such good fun.